Girls and sexually transmitted diseases is a grotty subject, but it's an important subject and it should be discussed. Sexually transmitted diseases is an embarrassing topic, and frankly in the past it was more than embarrassing, it was deadly. Because until the advent of penicillin and antibiotics and other medication, a lot of people could suffer permanent damage because of sexually transmitted diseases. In point of fact, people with syphilis would eventually die horrifying deaths because of the disease. And this is something that you should look up, as a matter of fact. Okay, the history books are littered with the cadavers of famous people who, for all their greatness and brilliance and what have you, they suffered from syphilis and wound up dying horribly. Okay, it's no joke. And we are incredibly fortunate to be living in a period of time where a lot of the more serious sexually transmitted diseases, like syphilis, like AIDS, like herpes, like chlamydia, and so forth, these diseases, incredibly dangerous though they may be, are, if not curable, at least they're very manageable, to the point where you can continue to live a life, a good life, while managing this disease. We are very, very fortunate to be living in such times. In fact, part of the reason that we had the sexual revolution of the 1960s is precisely because so many of these diseases are treatable. I mean, before 1945 and the widespread availability of antibiotics, syphilis was a real concern, and because it was such a real concern, a lot of people's sexual activity was limited because of fear, because they were afraid that they would get syphilis and potentially die of syphilis. Like I said, so many people did. So anyway, because of the advent of these medications, there was the sense that sexual intercourse was not so dangerous, and so more people got into it and what have you. And so now we have roughly the same levels of sexually transmitted diseases. I mean, the levels remain the same. The only thing that changes, of course, is the ability to treat and cure these diseases. But some of them are not curable. Yeah, the ones I'm thinking about specifically are HIV and herpes. Now, these are very, very serious diseases, even if you are able to treat them, okay? They will alter your life, and they will alter your potential availability of mates. And it will certainly cause a whole boatload of problems insofar as having children is concerned, okay? So HIV and herpes, well, it's something to be very aware of. And don't give me the stuff that you can tell if somebody has herpes or has AIDS, okay? Because that is not true. And I know from first-hand experience. Yeah, back in 1999 or 98, I in fact have forgotten, but I was living in New York City, and I started dating this girl. And she was a professional woman. She was very successful, and she was, like a plain Jane kind of girl. And just lovely, and very bright, and very smart, and very this, that, the other. I mean, she's just aces in every regard, right? And I could see her as a potential girlfriend, not just a one-night stand or a weekend lay. You know what I mean? And I started dating her, and we started inching up on the physical intimacy side of things. And it got to that moment that we're gonna go to bed, basically, right? And well, luckily for me, okay, when it was inching up to that level, she was decent enough and honest enough to sort of slow the horses down and confess to me that she had herpes, right? Yeah. 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 That sort of like killed the mood. Oh, definitely killed the mood. And point of fact, and I'm a bit ashamed to say it, but I said I had to think about it, blah, blah, and I sent her on her way, and then I never called her again. I didn't know how to handle it. I was, 31 years old, and I just did not know how to handle that situation. It was just too much for me, above my pay grade, above my level of maturity. You want to call me a chicken shit, call me this, that, the other, for having just totally ghosted on her and just, ignored her calls and just like gone, right? I couldn't handle it because herpes is a very serious disease. There's no cure for it. You can only treat it. And if you have herpes, apart from having periodic cold sores and what have you, right? It can potentially render you sterile and a whole host of other things. It's a disease that has to be managed for the rest of your life. It's not curable, okay? And to tell you the truth, I feel lucky that this girl was kind enough and decent enough to have admitted it to me, right? Yeah. Oof. You know, if she hadn't, I would definitely have gotten into bed with her, and I would have herpes probably today. Yeah. But of course I don't. I have this story, and this story should teach you something, okay? You want to find out if a girl has an STD. You want to find out as quickly as possible. You don't want to pretend that the girl is this perfect, pure little princess, okay? No. You got to face reality. And you got to ask a girl if she has STDs before you fuck her, okay? I mean, you got to. You got to ask her before you fuck her. You fuck her with a condom. And after you know her a good bit, once you get a really good sense of her, only then, take off the condom. When you're absolutely sure she doesn't have an STD, okay? Because there are a lot of girls who will be too embarrassed, too ashamed, too whatever, to tell you the truth about their condition. I told you about this girl that I met back in New York in 98, 99 or whenever, who was decent and good enough person to have told me. But what if she had just not had that level of scruples? What if she had just been a little bit, kind of like, and just like let it slide, right? Huh? What would have happened then? Huh? Yeah, fucking A. That's exactly what would have happened. I would have had fucking herpes because of this woman. Yeah. Now, what happens if you have an STD? Well, then you have to do the right thing. You have to tell her up front. You have to tell the woman that you're going to bed that you have a sexually transmitted disease. Now, of course, this is assuming that you've done everything in your power to cure yourself of this disease, whatsoever it may be, or treat it as aggressively as possible. I mean, you should be treating yourself for STDs every 6 months. Yeah. I mean, if you're sexually active, right, and you're sleeping around with a lot of different women, 6 months. Yeah, definitely. Or 4. I mean, there's no real count, but just make it regularly, okay? And check for everything. Don't think that just because you're dating a decent girl that you might not have caught HIV, for instance. Oh, you gotta be smart and you gotta bite the bullet, okay? See, if you're gonna go out and be like a sexual cowboy and fuck at whatever moves, right? That's perfectly fine, but you gotta be willing to take the consequences. You got to be willing to take the consequences and recognize that potentially you might have caught something that you didn't want to, okay? And don't fuck around. Don't pretend that it can't happen to you, because it can happen to you. Yeah, you have no idea how many guys I've met over the decades, right? Who said something stupid like, it can never happen to me, I can always tell, Stupid motherfuckers, right? And they're always surprised when later they find out that they have, some disease that they can't get rid of, that is going to accompany them for the rest of their lives. Yeah, I've met more than one guy to whom that's happened to, okay? And the stupid motherfuckers, yeah? And the thing is, see, the word gets around. The girls know, they catch on quick when a guy actually does have an STD. Yeah, actually, I'm thinking about a specific incident of one guy I knew who blabbed about the fact that he had herpes, and soon every girl in multiple social circles knew about it and avoided him like the fucking plague. Yeah, I mean, it was goddamn funny, and that taught me, of course, that people cannot keep their mouth shut. Okay, there are no conspiracies on this earth because nobody can keep a secret. Okay, people blab even about the most important things in their lives. They will blab. So anyway, the point I want to make here specifically is that, see, if you catch some disease, right, and you have treated it as aggressively as you possibly can, right, then if you continue having sex, you got to tell the girls that you're with that you do have this, whatever it is, if it's potentially still contagious. Because it would be fucking despicable if you didn't. The thing is, see, a lot of smarter girls, frankly sluttier girls, they catch on quick to the guys who are lying. Okay, it's the more innocent girls, the girls with fewer sexual partners who get fucked over by some guy who's got an STD, a very serious, potentially very serious STD, and they take his word for it, and then later, it's all tears, yeah? It's usually the more naive people who don't think about this shit. You who might be naive, you who might be very trusting, you who might believe whatever a girl says, or conversely, if you're a woman, whatever any guy says, no. You cannot afford to trust other people about their sexual histories if you get a sense or like that tingle, that spidey sense, that little knot in your belly that maybe they're lying to you about it. No, if you're not sure, put a wrapper on it, okay? If you're not sure about the woman, or if you're a woman, about the guy, right? And if you're dating somebody for a while, okay, then do like Reagan and the Russians did back in the Cold War. Trust but verify. See, if you're dating somebody and you're thinking about going without a wrapper, right? You tell your partner, hey, look, I'm happy to do it, but let's both go and get an STD test of everything, just to prove to one another that we're all, clean and everything is copacetic, okay? I mean, if they're perfectly clean and they don't have anything going on, right, they're not going to have a problem doing this test. And if they do have a problem, if they say something like, oh, you don't trust me? What's the matter with you? I trust you. How come you can't trust me? Then you know that something's up. Inevitably, absolutely guaranteed something is up. If somebody gets defensive about that shit and you're in a relationship with them, then you know that they have something. No exceptions. No exceptions ever. Anybody ever gets defensive, you know that they've got something. Take it to the bank, okay? Because that's human nature. People get defensive about the things that they're guilty of. People never get defensive about things that they're completely innocent about because they're innocent. Yeah, of course, You say that I killed John Kennedy, and I'm going to say, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. You killed John Kennedy. I'm like, what are you talking about? You see my point, yeah? Because nobody ever gets defensive unless they are guilty, okay? So you want to spring that question on your potential boyfriend, girlfriend as soon as possible. You want to get that out of the way, okay? It's a wild world out there. There are all kinds of people walking around with all kinds of diseases, yeah? And it's the people that you least expect. Like I said before, a lot of times the more naive people, the more wholesome looking people are the ones who have the worst diseases. Yeah, like this girl I was telling you about at the beginning of this video. She was this nice girl. She was like blonde and she worked, at a very good company, and she was like good schools, good universities, clean cut, I mean, she was wholesome looking. You look at a picture of her and she could have been like she was beautiful. She could have been a catalog model, quite frankly. A catalog model for I don't know, Abercrombie and Finch or something like that. She looked like that. She looked, wholesome and beautiful, right? And she had herpes. And where do you think she got it from? She got it from some asshole who didn't tell her. Yeah, that's what happened. Some asshole might have been a boyfriend of hers, and he had it. He probably knew, because herpes, it does affect you, and the bastard didn't tell her. Yeah, you see? So it can happen, and it can happen with the wholesome looking people. Don't be stupid. A lot of people call me the internet dad. Oh God, that is just so fucking cringy. Cringy and embarrassing, right? But I'll tell you, don't be dumb. It's one thing that's life has taught me, and I hate to pull the age card here, but life has taught me this. It is better to have 5 minutes of embarrassment, asking the tough questions, than a lifetime of regret.